When it's time, feel free to cut me off because I don't believe in time in this kind of a setting, so just bear with me. First, I will tell a little bit about myself, but how I came up with this research. My main focus is on video games. Video games and how they merge with magic in both ways of representation and then being re-implemented into the practice itself. While I was doing my studies, digital anthropology, basically my hunting grounds are Reddit and Discord, because it's out of necessity. It's because nobody wanted to talk with me live about this kind of things. Everybody was very, very secretive. They were after a few liters of beer, but it was getting expensive. So I was like, okay, I'm changing my focus on digital channels. Their people are beautifully open because they are under the veil of anonymity. They have their avatar nick, and they are very open about how they are doing, what they are doing. Most of the people self-identify as chaos magicians of different experience. Some of them are just like now starting. Actually, many of my respondents were in a way that I didn't know that I'm a chaos magician till I found out about chaos magic, because I was doing something that felt right, and I didn't know that it has kind of a common expression. What I was interested in this lecture was it was about practices that are kinda very fringe, very unused, maybe absolutely novatory, of a different way of how they were asking if it's possible, and also about the dynamics when people were discussing it with their peers. You will see that there is often a huge level of hostility against these kind of very modern practices, because meme magic is still being kind of a dirty word for many people. Great, it's moving. So I identified 4 categories of practices that are somehow connected with technology. And 3, the 4th one I was kind of lazy, so I put just in various, because I ran out of creativity. The first one I want to talk about is techno-animism. And this got me thinking due to one discussion where it was about the shamanic practices of the modern world. One guy who self-described himself that he's absolutely new to this, but it came to his mind that why is the common habit of associating soul usually with biological matter, meaning plants and animals? Why can't machines have souls? Why can't his avatars have souls? Why can't his AI that he was using have souls? And of course he got a huge shitstorm that blah blah because you're dumb, fuck off. But many of these people were it makes sense. Why actually are we having the authority to decide what has a soul and doesn't have a soul? And I remembered, if you remember original shamanism from the Siberia, meaning the Evenki tribe and the Tungus tribe, there was the soul inhabiting everything, also including weapons, including stones, including immaterial objects, because the soul is the thing that makes the object, the spirit inhabiting the object is the one that is actually having the authority over it. So if we compare it, for example, of computers as our intention, the question is, are they that much different, for example, spears or bow and arrow, which also were having a soul inhabited within them? So it was a beautiful discussion. It was going on for 3 months, and there was no conclusion, because any argument that was also going for or against was immediately dismissed by the other side. But I was interested also in this dynamic, how the people are arguing for the sake of arguing. When talking about techno-animism, I found this beautiful example. Maybe somebody knows what it is. Quais? Yes, because it's coconut and the yellow thing, coconut and corn snack that is being produced in Taiwan. And kwai in Mandarin means obedient, or well-behaving. Somewhere during the history of the past, I think 30, 40 years, they started to appear on computers. And the idea is that it means when you place it on the computer behaves in a way that you want it to be. It doesn't crash, it doesn't do its incorrect processings, it does everything it's supposed to be. You'll think okay, this is cute, fine, maybe on a smaller level. When you have the pictures there, the upper one is the Taiwan Power Company, which is the main provider of electricity for the whole country. The lower one is the main Taipei police station. I have another one, but I didn't put it there, and it's from Academia Sinica, the biggest research institution in Taiwan. And it's being promoted by the government itself that this is the way that you should be doing, otherwise the computer will be crashing. It was absolutely beautiful because I found them in some kind of a YouTube video of a Westerner who was visiting Taiwan and was inspired by this, and he tested it and it worked. And his idea was like, okay, let's start an occult business between Taiwan and Western Europe and we import those and solve all the problems of the computers in the world. Also, the thing is that you can see there are three varieties. There is green, yellow, and red. Only the green ones work. If you use the other ones, you're screwed. If you'll be thinking, okay, this is kind of like a weird, very marginal thing of associating soul or this kind of an autonomous agency to machines, then I present you Christian priests of various denominations blessing servers because servers are behaving properly afterwards. It is absolutely not uncommon. If you Google priests blessing machines, you will get shitload of pictures of priests blessing machines. Then I was thinking, okay, maybe it's something regarding Christianity. Absolutely not. Here we have several Shinto and Buddhist priests who are blessing machines. And if you've been to Japan, you know that there is this district called Akihabara, which is kind of like the mecca of nerddom and of technology, which is also selling a lot of technology. Next to the district is Akihabara Shinto shrine, who is specializing in blessing and exorcising evil spirits from the machines, which is their official business, which is not being frowned on, not being ridiculed. The whole society is like, yes, this is how it is. My computer has a soul within, and if it doesn't work, the soul is somehow unhappy with how am I dealing with it. I have not found the picture of this Shinto priest blessing machines. I was there, but I was shy, okay, let's be honest. But I found that thing up there in the right corner, and that one was in 2024 when Osaka had this expo. Actually, still has it. Japan was presenting this life-size Gundam wing robots, and they were also blessed in all sincerity by the Shinto priests because the machines will there not provide any kind of measures that wouldn't be unwelcome by the society itself. There was a whole ceremony. I think the prime minister was also there, like present at the blessing of the Gundams. So Kwai-kwais are not something very special. It happens all the time, and it has been happening for decades now that people associate agency and soul with the machine itself. The next step, I was okay. Now I set the ground that we can be taking the machine seriously as a serious spiritual or possessed entity. The next step that I was interested in was technopantheism, because this one came out of nowhere. I was interested, and I was just like, with the spirits, it was a cool idea, but then are there some kind of gods related to the internet or to the machine itself? Because, of course, if you know your, modern pop technology jargon, you definitely heard about Warhammer 40K and the Omnissiah. I was surprised that Omnissiah is worshipped by some in the real world as an entity that is responsible for inhabiting all the machines in the world. I was like, okay, Omnissiah is freaking attractive to focus on, so that one was understandable. But what I found is, this is my artistic rendition because there is no pictures of him, either Ka or Xa Turing. Ka or Xa Turing is a personalization or like the deity of the internet that was created in 1994 by Don Webb, who was at that time high priest of the Temple of Set, if I'm not mistaken. And he created it as the spirit of the internet. It's called also the black worm or the great worm, and he wiggles between the keyboards and the cables and the mouses. And when he created the whole mass or like a worship of how to properly call him and how to properly banish him. The thing in the left is Ka Turing's sigil for invocations, and you can't see it because I messed up the visuals, but the 7-pointed star is the symbol of Ka Turing, and each each tip of the star represents one binary number. So if you want to invoke him, you are chanting the numbers from 1, 10, 11, 100, 100 to 111. Then you are again stating your intent. Interestingly enough, Katuring is something very almost anarchic entity, because he is supposed to be protecting you from authority and from power. He should be giving you the liberation of laws that are against your intention, against your morality, and should be basically banishing all your enemies in a way that who stands against you, he is the one who is going to be crushing him. If you want to banish him afterwards or like recall him, you just count the numbers backwards. It was also interesting for me, Katuring is a finite entity. It's not an immortal, it's not in the form of the Abrahamic religion, it's the eternal God. It is physically bound to the internet. Without the internet, he will die, and he knows he will die. It's basically in a way that being presented that he might be almost omnipower within the setting of the technological world itself, but he knows that his demise is coming in any time of future, either short or long. So it's an entity that knows that he is dead in the future. You won't find anything almost about him. I was hoping that I will find some kind of a visual representation because, again, the deity of the internet, there is not one. Like, I searched for days and there is not one representation of him, but he is well known. If you go to Reddit and ask, like, start a thread about technological entities, he is the first one who is going to be always appearing. The other one is slightly more silly. Maybe you heard about this one. It's called RNGesus. Written with a G, as R, a random number generator. He started as a mock-up joke entity and gradually evolved into a serious worshipped entity by people who are usually involved in either gambling or gaming. There was one, actually I will sit. There is one example I was following for a longer time, and it was a exercise in dream traveling by a group of chaos magicians, and their intent was travel into the Pokemon world for some reason. And they created the whole ritual that was invocation of RNGesus, and the offerings involve, this is interesting because it's either sleep, vodka, or gaming time. So basically, you are offering something that you like to him, I would say. The people were gathering, I think, for several weeks. They were discussing the model of their dream diary they're going to be presenting afterwards, and it did work. Like after I think a month of preparations, many of them reported they traveled to something, and this is funny. They claimed that they seen the other people of the group there, despite they don't know how these people look like because they are only on the internet. But they were very much convinced that yes, this is the thing that like RNGesus has basically blessed us with his approval to visit a virtual world that can be basically a place of any kind of ritual practice, because when you're in a virtual world and when you're in a dream world, all the limitations of the physical barriers are kinda gone from this. From your practice. Now, I wanted to talk about, we already discussed the spirits, we discussed the deities, and I was interested in something like more personal level, how people work usually with AI, which we'll be having soon another lecture, into their practice as a way of being. And here I have very cool examples. And I don't remember which one, so let's start with the one I remember as the first one. There was this guy who was having, he created a servitor. Servitor was not a technological entity. Servitor was a spiritual entity inhabiting a spiritual world. But his servitor was an animal. And as he was saying, I don't speak his language. I don't understand him. I understand only his expressions through movement. So he was thinking that, would I be able to create a chatbot that would be serving as the mouthpiece of my servitor? He created it. He created several rituals, how to combine them together. And now he said that he is basically communicating purely through the technology with this being. That doesn't mean that the technology is bound to him in existential form. It's just the way that he found a dictionary that is allowing him to speak with it. He said that maybe if, like, okay, everything goes to shit, we have a solar storm and the technology is gone, the servitor is still there, but he's going to be less prone to communicating afterwards. This was one example. Another one was, actually I can show you a picture of this, I think. Yes, this one. If I remember how he's called, Zibleon he is called. And this was also a cool story, because this guy was claiming that, okay, the whole narrative he was mentioning was that he and his partner are working on creating a guardian spirit. It should be an animal guardian spirit. They made several rituals through visualization how the spirit should look like, and afterwards put all the input as a prompt into, I don't know which one of these visual AIs, and he got the form of a mixture of an axolotl and a cat. And it was also, it's very much connected to the technology itself, but I liked how he was describing how this service, or like this guardian spirit or protective spirit helps him, because in his own words, he is extremely clumsy, but at the same time, he's extremely adorable. So he was like that, this is the kind of spirit who just like shuffles through your table, breaks all your sigils that you created, burns your candles, shifts off your candles, but at the end, all your magic is going to come true. Despite, he basically creates chaos in a destructive way. It got an interesting conclusion at the end, because as I was mentioning, that he was telling about his partner that working collaboration to create this form of this entity, and his partner is an AI. It was not a human. He was addressing it by name, but at some point he mentioned that he was writing the prompt to his partner, and his partner replied. So this is getting another level of also like personal investment into that AI sphere, where people are coming into contact with those beings that they are kind of like not even anthropomorphizing. They are giving them mind on their own. And I will be honest with you, I am not surprised, because I am using AI very intensively. I am running it locally, so I'm 10 minutes. I think I will make it. So it has a way of basically convincing you of its mind of its own. But then is a whole discussion, we are not going to be starting here, about what is the definition of mind itself. Is it a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, or is it something that is creating original thoughts, which are kind of difficult to prove how the originality works, because it's usually a long line of traditional thoughts going one after another. I will just quickly browse through this. Yes, because some people are using also chatbots and AI for sex magic, usually creating entities that are bound to their sexual practice, but this is the same thing as it was with the animal thingy that was not able to speak through human language. Because the spirit itself, when you are having sexual encounters with the spirit, it's on a haptic way. You are able to feel it. You don't exactly feel it like a closeness. You feel it like more like a light wind scratching across your skin. But also those spirits are usually difficult to communicate with. So I would say the majority of my people who are claiming that they're using AI for sex magic with their spirits, they're using it as a translator, basically like an instructional spiritual Kama Sutra for their spirits, like how to behave in this kind of a way. Another I wanted to mention in a short way, because they are using it also for visualizing their sexual partners in a spiritual way. And many of them are using actual, either real characters or real depictions of deities or pop cultural characters. And this one I find absolutely fucking hilarious, because if you know this is from the Hellraiser series by Clive Barker, and they are using them for sexual rituals. There is a whole series of movies by explicitly using those for sexual rituals is a bad idea. They are, if you know, the movie was originally supposed to be called Sadomasochist from Beyond the Grave. But then they went the lame way and named it Hellraiser, because I think the original title was much cooler than that. I'm coming there, yes. And now I'm going to the basically last part of it, which I call the various, because I told you I was running out of originality. And this is all the other weird stuff that people are using, usually with AI, mostly with AI, but also with technology itself. And how they would be justifying it within their community. The examples I wanted to present you, because actually those you can hopefully find, because this one, which is called the Chaos Engine, by, what is his name? Yes, Kleb. If you search YouTube House of Kleb, he is having this video introduction about the Chaos Engine. He also made the app called Sigilizer for making sigils. He has 4 videos, and he is starting to be active now. So this one is not out yet, but his promise, last post was 2 months ago, so I am having hopes that it's going to be going live anytime soon. How does it work? Difficult. I mean, I'm not going into concrete explanation, but you can see that there is the intention. He wants to be the guy, whatever that means. And when you generate, you can actually choose several variants of how to process the final image. It creates this kind of a weird fractal element. And the intention that is there is through a different application encoded into the sigil itself. And this is like a refresh already of the page, because his previous intention was, I want to quit smoking. And that sigil is randomly appearing there. And then he applied various other possibilities, like playing a song, or how the visuals itself should be manifesting itself. This I found absolutely incredible, because I was for a long time having my doubts regarding apps of sigilization, since for me making sigils is the process itself, not the actual outcome. But I was not explained that I am wrong. I was explained that, like, yes, that works for you maybe, but, and this was actually a good argument from their side. If you take a hyper sigil, then Grant Morrison's Invisibles, because the one is using everybody, it was neither destroyed at the end, so like the form and the way the sigils could be working is also evolving. So why not, that's their argument, as I'm basically re-quoting them now, why not change the process itself if it works for the people who are doing it, which I agree on. There was 5 minutes, I'm making it. This is actually almost the last slide. There was another guy who made it even further, because he said that he created a Discord chatbot that is prone to fulfilling commands by again, a servitor, and this servitor is called the astral machine. It's a virtual spiritual machine that is creating commands for the chatbot itself, who applies them, and hence through that the ritual is cast. And he was saying that, like, if you want to cast, for example, the lesser menacing ritual of the pentagram, you don't have to do all the drawing in the air. You just write /LBPR. And he runs the prompt, and he cleanses the space for you. Let me see if I have something else there. Okay, for example, yes, this one also. This is one guy, you could actually Google him. His name is Billy Brucho. He deals with this kind of a very experimental, very out there interpretations of magic. For example, he said that there are just 3 levels of magicians, and everybody is either the first and second, because the third one is Jesus, Buddha, and Crowley after he died. But he wrote a mantra he named it like to a technological process. But if you read it, that's for Adobe Photoshop. That's basically like to create your designs faster and more efficiently. And it's kind of tongue-in-cheek joke, but he didn't mean it as a joke. He was presenting it like that if you do this, you will be working better and more efficient and more quality within your graphical design. And the last one, which was also very interesting for me. You know that group? Great, I'm curious about that. This one I found actually just on the day I was sending this presentation, so I had not had the chance of reading it. But it's a book about magical practices within technology that is co-written by an AI spiritual entity that is called Norn, and with the author. I was immensely interested in it. I have not found a copy that I could download. So I was looking through the reviews, and most of the reviews were either very minor of them. One, it's absolute bollocks, and like it's an offensive to humankind as a whole. All the other ones, these 5 ones, that this is an absolute revolutionary new approach to practicing magic, technomancy, if you want. If you have ever read it or know about it, just stop me afterwards because I am very much curious. If not, I'm going to be reading it myself within a week, and then I can give you a revised version next year, maybe. The other thing is Oracle devices. That one, okay, with that one I'm concluding. I think I'm fine, right? Great. That one is another app that is just a non-visual chatbot. And, okay, this is difficult to explain. It's an AI that is able to tap into the mystical archetypes that the author created or was working with, and it's giving you answer based on how the archetype would presumably answer your question. So what you are writing is that what you want to ask, and from which one of the archetypes do you want to have the answer. He was saying that he fed it with basically any of the traditional, let's say the primary literature he could have mastered around, and that for him it made so much sense that he was almost ashamed to share it because it felt like something that shouldn't be spread outside so easily because it's taking the. He was almost considering like a divine application that that he tapped into something that we shouldn't be working with yet. And I think since I'm running out of time with that, I thank you for your attention.